She has the information. All right, call to order this special meeting of the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission. John House, Chair. The item on the agenda for this meeting is to review our laboratory equipment options that were brought up in a regular meeting. And I believe we had somebody here to talk about that. You'll introduce yourselves for the camera and tell us all about it.
I am Christina Adams, the Laboratory and Infection Control Director.
Kim, did you say this microphone is not?
It is not.
So if you want to come up here, because the people who are watching on television.
Chuck to the mic right there.
Yeah, please. Just pull the microphone.
So does it hook to the microphones or no?
Oh, there's a oh, I'm sorry.
Is the microphone in the camera?
The night phone.
I can hear her. Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys have questions?
I have,
about the
I do.
analyzers? Okay,
so that you sent us today, was it 2 different machines?
no, I just sent you the
One machine with options.
Cepheid, which is the Dean Expert, and they really weren't per se options. That's everything that we need to bring that analyzer in-house.
Nice.
So it's validation, QC, the analyzer itself. It comes with a printer, power backup, and the test kits.
Oh, it does come with the test kits and the reagents. Everything.
Well, we have to order those separate, but those were the quotes.
Okay. So how is this? You know, what was that? About 6 months ago that we bought a bunch of other equipment, the analyzer.
Yes,
So this is just basically a different analyzer that adds more functionality to what we can do, right?
correct. The analyzer that we have now only does, which just came out with the IgG for COVID.
I see. Okay.
So, and that just came out like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So this test is actually the one that does nasal swab, and it's by PCR. So it's going to tell you, yes, you have it now, where the IgG
It
isn't.
had it last year, whatever.
Right. However long it takes you to make the antibodies, that's what that one does.
Right.
What other tests is this machine going to perform for us specifically? What will you use?
We have got lots. There are lots. It does a factor 2 and factor 5 for thrombosis. It does MRSA and MSSA of nasal for screenings for nursing homes. It also does for soft tissue, MRSA and MSSA. It does norovirus. It does chlamydia and Neisseria. So we can do STD. It does strep A, it does flu, RSV, VRE. I'm trying to give it, there's some that we would not use. C. diff, and it does a C. diff/epi, which is, it differentiates between the epidemic 027 strain and the C. diff itself. Or you can just have plain C. diff.
Does it come with an out of the box, or we will have to buy separate?
These will be separate kits.
Okay.
So whatever we decide, that's what it would be. And I think I sent you guys a reimbursement of what Medicare and Medicaid reimburses. And actually the salesperson just sent me how much it was going to cost for some of these. He couldn't give them to me all, he was on vacation. So, but he did send me those for the reimbursement, or what it was going to cost us.
One other question.
I do that all the time.
That's why I asked you questions.
So did they say anything about like the salesperson, what's actually covered by the government's COVID relief program? Because is this machine covered? I would imagine the COVID testing is the machine covered? And then we would be, I guess, responsible in the future for purchasing the other testabilities. Because they also, they're separate, right?
Yes, they're all separate, and I mean, Medicare will reimburse $100,
Sure.
for the COVID, and COVID costs us $38.50 to purchase that.
So
Per test.
to your question, the way I understand the way that money was awarded to us, and Darryl, you may have a better answer than this, was that we can use it, or that we can only use it for cost related to this pandemic. And we can't very well run the test without the machine. So it follows that the machine could be purchased with that money. Now, obviously, if that turns out differently, we'll have to cover that. But from my understanding, it will cover it.
It's just, this is a very expensive machine, and if we knew that we were gonna have this covered basically by the government relief, it'd be a lot easier decision to make than, we don't know that. So I was hoping that maybe we would have that information along with.
The information I have received is that with that grant, with the money that we have received, we can purchase this analyzer.
And if I may, the accuracy of this machine at 98% versus up to 50/50 from the other options makes it extremely valuable asset.
Sure, it's just, we're a hospital commission that has a lot of expenses right now, and we're really trying to be careful with our expenditures. Not to say that this virus doesn't, mean that we should spend every single last dime of what we have to make sure that people are safe. It's just I want to make sure that we're doing this in a smart way. And if we have money that's free and available to us, making sure that we verify we can use this in a responsible way.
Here.
From the documentation that I've read and with the support from our attorneys, it looks like it would be covered through any of that, but also depending on how we get the machine, and how we choose to purchase equipment. Everything that we can do it correctly will also fall back to the cost report. And that will allow us to, on a lease basis perspective, annualize that to our cost report, which will be returned back in the form of reimbursement or payment.
I guess my question is, and maybe it's evolving, so I apologize, has anyone purchased this thing with the use of government funds? Because if this is a salesman, we're not the only person selling it to. Do we have any knowledge of it?
I have not asked that, but I can definitely email him and ask him that.
It's just a curiosity.
I would just say, the grant money that we got may not be the grant money another hospital got, unless they're a critical access. Everybody gets different grant money. So, our grant money, according to our attorney and the CFO, this will be covered. All of our testing for COVID will fit under that grant. So we should not have to purchase any testing for COVID
That won't be
that won't be reimbursed by the grant.
Just wanted to hear that.
The other thing line too, Chris, is that I don't know that anybody could give you a straightforward answer, even somebody from the government. This relief bill was patched together in a matter of weeks and then sent out. So I don't think that there's a book somewhere where you can look this up.
And I guess it's just, if you're a salesman, you're selling, trying to push as much product as possible. You know that you got free money or they might have some incentive.
Good point.
Well, and actually, as far as the salesman goes, I'm the one that contacted him. He wasn't the one that said, hey, you need to have this. So, I went to him and said, how do I get this? So,
I recovered my question that I had for you.
Yes.
The contract for the reagent packs is everything the machine capable of through one contract, or does each one of them separately have to be arranged?
no, if we want another one, if we want to add on strep A, let's say 6 months from now, I can call them and say, okay, we want to do strep A. And they would come and set that up. And we would just pay for I can't remember, I want to say it's $30 for the strep, if I remember from my email. So, we're reimbursed, gosh, I can't 75 or something like that, so.
Dr. Burton, did you have anything? I know you did some research on this. Did anything you wanted to add to this discussion?
Yeah, I think the main thing I would like to add to this is that if you think about things in the future, right, in the fall, or if we have an outbreak here next month, you know, obviously this will be very useful. But even in the fall, when you have somebody come in sick and you don't know what it is and their influence is negative, what are you going to do without something like this? If you're just relying on the Abbott, you have a 50% shot that that negative test is true. If we don't have this, we're just going to be sitting there, you know, not knowing what in the world we're treating. Are we treating a common cold? Are we treating, you know, a strep infection, or are we treating COVID? And so that's why I know it is expensive. And from what I've researched, I really, if the grant money pays for anything, it should pay for this. And then on top of that, it will roll into our cost report if we lease it in such a way that the allocation for it's really not going to be significant. So obviously I'm strongly in favor of it, but the reason that I'm most in favor of it is because of it is the gold standard, and I'm afraid that we'll get in a situation in the fall where we'll have no idea what we're treating. And this time we will have been given all this time to prepare for it. And if we're unprepared for it, that looks like twice as bad. You know?
I agree.
All right, any further discussion or anybody want to make a motion on this particular item?
I would make a motion that the commission purchase this piece of equipment for the laboratory and in hopes of using the grant money to pay for it.
I'll second that.
So Mike Mary moved that we purchase this equipment. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to amend it that we lease the equipment because 100% comes off of the cost report rather than paying cash for it.
Did we run into that problem where we couldn't lease stuff because we're a city entity? What was that? We tried that.
We've had that problem, but we've already done it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we can say this is the last one or what, we've already done that. And so I don't know how you want to deal with that, but one more is not going to be anything really that new. So.
All the lab equipment is leased.
Okay, all right. I just want to be sure. Okay, so
So I would amend it that we lease this equipment
as opposed to outright purchase.
as opposed to order purchase.
And you're okay with that?
One quick question, the lease fees to out the future, are they still going to reflect on the grant money, or is there a time that this grant money is going to come to the end and therefore we will be responsible?
We don't have an answer for that. So I asked that specifically at our last meeting.
So we didn't get any answers, because that's a huge thing. If we didn't have this thing,
Nobody
Yeah.
knows. That's the problem.
no, and I get that, but if we can have this thing for free, because we're using our grant money essentially free, versus having an expense in the future, that seems
That's my.
like an argument we should have before we add that to the thing.
But before we go on any further, do you approve her amendment, yes or no?
No.
Okay, so you're amending that. Now, discussion about the actual motion. To your point, we could simply, you know, the money that we have in our bank account, from a financial standpoint, is how much of that is the grant money, how much of that is income from Medicare, from other insurance companies. That's a bookkeeping. So if we set aside the cost of this item, we put 60 grand, 65 grand in an account, a bookkeeping account, it doesn't matter where that money is. As long as we attribute it to that, and we can keep it set aside. Does that make sense?
I guess to me, I understand what you're saying, and I imagine this has something to do with cost report magic, but to me, if someone gives me $100 bill, and I decide to spend $50 of my own money, in hopes that that $100 bill will be there in the future, and then it's taken away, I feel kind of silly that I didn't use my free money, use my own. I don't know, maybe that's a bad analogy, but I think the house would make it even simpler.
Isn't the machine going to pay for itself? I mean, with the testing that we can do it.
Eventually, yes, it will. But
Yeah, I don't
can
know.
I'm thinking that if we can lease it, and then we find out, when does this grant money end? Couldn't we then pay that off?
Depends on the lease, but.
I
The
mean,
money's ours.
Yeah.
It's not gonna take that.
Well,
It's ours.
We may not be able to spend it for everything that we need. And if we spend our money for this and we need it for payroll, then we don't have it. So
That's an argument too.
we have the grant money now, correct?
but we can't, I don't know, if we can use the grant money for payroll.
No, I don't.
We can
think
only
we
use
can.
it for payroll that is, we can use it for a couple of things. We can use it for lost revenue related to COVID. We can use it for payroll for people who are doing COVID related work. So for instance, the screeners that are, screening coming in. It can be used for any of our supplies related to COVID. I mean, there's a wide variety of things. Anything related to COVID, we can use it for.
It's actually, it's pretty open.
Yeah, it's pretty wide. Like I said, this bill was thrown together in a matter of weeks. They had no idea all the different possibilities that this was going to apply to. That's why they left it so long. My concern that I raised a couple at the last meeting was that they can always, and kind of to your point, they can always come back later and say, well, it's been a year, you haven't used $1 million of that, we want that. They can't do that. It is the government, they can do whatever they want. There's no indication at this point they're gonna do that, but that's always a possibility. And so I think it's wise to try to figure out the best way to do this.
And I agree with that, there's no indication that they're gonna do that, but there's also news out there talking about, most of them are just saying, well, we've already put, $3 trillion into the economy, let's see what happens before we start giving any more money. And so if they're thinking that way about getting money, they can always think that way about taking money back.
It's very politically unpopular to take money back.
Sure.
And so I think that's a remote risk, but it's always a possibility.
But again, I'm just,
If we lease it now and 6 months down the road, see that they're changing their mind, could we not pay it off then?
Well, that's what Tina just suggested, and I don't see a reason why we couldn't, but sometimes a lease has we'll have it built in, you can't pay it off early without paying the lease or something like that, but most of the time you can't. So we currently have a motion with a second on the floor. And so if there's no further discussion, we need to deal with this motion.
So this motion is saying pay.
And we're going to purchase this equipment.
I'm still unclear about whether or not that's the best way to work with the lease, and I don't feel comfortable voting for this if.
Well, we have, but my point is, we have this motion, so we do have to approve it, we get to get rid of it.
approve it.
Right, if we want to amend it, we can, but one way or another, we gotta close it out. Because that motion has to
But we can still discuss, I just don't know how much more discussion there is. Do you have a particular question? I guess my argument, where I stand right now is, unless someone can explain it to me in a different way maybe, is that we buy the thing because we have sure money right now. And none of us can predict the future. I know that you guys are talking about leasing stuff, but I also agree with what you're saying, that if we need our money to keep our employees going, we just, spend 64, or not 64, because we're gonna lease it. But I guess it's still coming out of the free money pot, isn't it? Yeah, so I don't know, I just don't want to incur bills down the road when there's like free money sitting here in front of us.
I also see that as income starts coming in from the use of this piece of equipment, that if we purchase it with money that's granted to us, then the income from it won't be offset by leasing. So we got a higher income.
I like that idea.
Yeah, there probably is a particular amount of cost involved in purchasing it rather than leasing it. But I think that's going to be offset by the increased income that the machine's going to give us, not being offset by lease fees.
Sarah, would you give us your opinion on this?
What's the benefit of leasing?
100% of the money comes off the cost report and we get that money back. If we buy it, maybe 50% or 40% comes off the cost report. So half of it, $40,000 or $38,000 comes back to us in the cost report.
I have to say though that I'm not entirely certain that we're gonna be able to take this off the budget.
We can't.
Because this is money the government is giving us.
Isn't that double?
If you read, I sent you guys the whole package of information that said what you can do.
Right.
It will not affect the cost report. The cost report's a whole separate entity, it's a whole separate thing, because it bases on reimbursement for the hospital.
Right.
This is money that they gave us because they gave all the hospitals,
Right.
due to the fact that COVID had pretty much shut down services, just like they did with your clinic. And
So they're just saying that this is another source of
This is
income.
another source of income, as long as you use it appropriately, it's yours.
Right. So not gonna affect.
So it's not going to affect the customer.
So we're essentially, we can either save our $40,000 or we can give it away. Okay, I agree.
I have just an idea. If I can get them to write the lease as in, we can pay it off at any time. Can we put that and, you know, we can either lease it and pay it off if they want to take that money, let's say a year from now, we have that option to pay it off. Or if we can't get that lease written like that, then we would purchase it outright.
What was that, Darren?
Said most of those leases will.
Yeah.
Right.
So would we have to frame this in a way that's contingent upon your salesman writing that into the lease?
Well, our motion currently says that we're going to purchase this equipment. And so you suggested that we amend it to say lease. How about if it was amended to say lease or purchase based on the best, I don't know exactly, but you get what I'm saying?
And the CFO?
Or lease to purchase.
What?
Lease to purchase.
But it's another-
No, I would rather lease it, but
Or you can make another amendment? Or you want to make another amendment?
Your amendment died, but do you want to amend it again?
I would like to amend it to read that we will lease this equipment.
So that is the amendment. Are you comfortable with that amendment?
Sure.
Okay, second, are you comfortable with that amendment?
Yes.
All right, so any further discussion?
So this now is saying that we're gonna just lease the equipment.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
Now,
All right, so did you see that? Okay, so the motion carries 3-0. All right, this meeting is adjourned. We'll now proceed to our next special meeting, which is the relationship with Alliance Management. Did everybody get a chance to go through the contract? I'm sorry, I'm rushing. Are you ready to? Okay. So I read through the contract and other than one or two little things, from a term sense, or not from the terms, but for instance, on the, do you have items on the page that you want to talk about? All right, so Dr. Brawley suggests that we go page by page, so I'm okay with that. So what, let me ask, does anybody else have things that they're concerned about in the contract? Dr. Burton?
Yes, I have a few things. Do you want me just to go first?
Well, let's go page by page. Will that happen for you? All right,
Mine starts at page 4. If somebody else's starts earlier, they can go.
okay, so Dr. Veronica, what page did you start? On 5. All right, Dr. Berg, you still go first, page 4.
Let's see. So I guess the word there, the manager shall take all responsible action subject to the provisions of this agreement and the applicable budgetary limitations, and to operate the hospital profitably in an efficient manner. I just didn't know about, he does in the next sentence say, the manager shall provide services in a manner that furthers the charitable tax exempt purposes of the owner. But since we're setting this LLC up as a non-for-profit, I guess I just didn't know about the language of having the hospital be profitable.
So let me, I'm not 100% certain what you're talking about. Page.
Oh, number 1, about 2/3 of the way down, under section 3, number 1.
I
So-
mean, your pages that you do.
To be page, I'm sorry, it's page 5. Sorry. Yeah, my fault.
Under number 1, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. About 2/3 down, to operate the hospital profitably. The manager shall, and I take that profitably means, you know, in the black, right? Basically, but I didn't know about the language there for a non-for-profit LLC.
All right, I will certainly mark that.
So maybe efficiently or something like that. And then also it goes to the larger discussion, which maybe we don't want to have with the contract, but several months ago when we kind of decided to do this thing, we were talking about how we wanted to be non-for-profit, and the security of the hospital was the most important thing to us, as opposed to really large profit. And so, you know, I think we need to direct Alliance in a way to understand that the security to the commission is by far the most important element, and not necessarily to make huge amounts of money. And reading that, I don't know if that, like, if that's the direction that the contract kind of establishes. So.
Yeah, so, if you go, I'm gonna take my mask off because people.
I'm at home, so yeah.
If you go back and you look at the history of critical access hospitals, being a profitable critical access hospital is not a bad thing. But it's the limitation of the profit. What we try to do is we try to keep it in about a 2% profit range.
Right.
If not, you can't balance that by your expenses and you end up losing money. So you want to be a profitable hospital, and you can still be a not-for-profit and be a profitable hospital, but you don't want to be in the red either. So most critical access hospitals run margins of anywhere from 2 to 5% profit. If you can get them to be a 2 to 5% profit, that's what our target goal would be.
I thought we were limited to a 1% profit margin. Is that not right?
That was something that the former CEO before Vicky came up with. And I don't know where, that was a Medicare thing that, but I think it related to for-profit companies, not to nonprofits. Because
I thought it related to critical access.
yeah, but not, yeah, for-profit critical access. But for, when you're a nonprofit entity, we're not limited as much in that regard. We just can't disperse the profits. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But in a sense, because later on in the contract, it talks about 1% of total net revenue.
Yes.
We are dispensing the net revenue as kind of a profit. It's not a total profit, but it's an incentive.
Right. And I'm not sure of the legal aspects of that. I was hoping that I would hear back from our attorneys today, but I haven't yet. So I can't specifically address that. Was there anything else on that page that you wanted to talk about?
No, so number 3, it is expressly agreed by the parties that so long as this agreement is in effect, the owner shall not interfere with the day-to-day operations of the hospital by the manager and shall at no time give or communicate orders or instructions to employees or personnel subject to the manager's direction under this agreement. I understand that that's there to prevent micromanaging by the commission to the manager. But I didn't know if we wanted it to be that strong. Shall not interfere with day-to-day, I guess day-to-day, but also at no time give or communicate orders or instructions. So that I guess limits the commission from having any kind of communication or instruction to any employees.
That's how I read it as well. I highlighted that because I was concerned. I understand the reason is likely because they're concerned that, you know, like you said, of micromanaging, multiple people telling people different things. And I'm sure that's how it's supposed to come across, but I agree with the way that it's worded. It almost sounds like these are the things you cannot do. And then later on, there's stipulations for if you do these things, how that could negatively affect you as the owner. And so
Right.
I also have questions about number 2, where it talks about has full authority to conduct, supervise, direct, manage entirety of day-to-day operations of the hospital and hospital personnel. I'm guessing, again, that means I'm a manager, I get to manage, but I just wanted to make sure that we have some input into the personnel and to, you know, the management, because I think what all of us are worried about is being in a situation where the person managing kind of takes over the hospital, kind of like we've been used to in the past.
Yes.
Well, so let me give you my 2 cents on that. I think that one of the challenges that we face is not to micromanage the hospital. The reason that we bring in a management company and we give them a contract is because we trust them to do what they're paid to do. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't get input, and there are mechanisms for that in this document. We get to call the manager to the meetings and say, explain this, what's going on, why are you doing this? But I think it's important that the manager becomes the conduit for everything that happens. Because otherwise, you get this commissioner calling that person and saying, well, no, we're not going to do it that way. And then this commissioner not liking that, calling this person. And next thing you know, you've got chaos. So I think the manager has to have that authority to say, I'm running the hospital. If you don't like the way I'm running it, talk to me. And you can we'll either work it out or you can fire me. But I don't think that we can, I think we have to give him that authority. Now, if you feel like it's too strongly worded, I think we can adjust the wording a little bit, but I think the spirit of that has to be there in order for these guys to do their job. But that's, again, that's my 2 cents. And
Dr. Barker, it's not so much, it's also to protect you. Because what I see, the one we've seen in the past is the employees jumping up, going to that person. It's a 2-way street, the protection.
Yeah, I think it's more just the language. I understand. I agree. Like when I read through this, that's exactly how I interpret it as well. But it just kind of struck me as I want to make sure that we're still running the hospital.
So the scenario that I want to protect, because one of the things when I got on the commission that I really wanted to see happen, which we now have the potential to see happen, is that when we hear our friends and neighbors complain about something that happened at the ER, and we were totally helpless because it was all up to Allegiance and there's nothing that we could do about it. I want to be the commission to be able to hear somebody come to one of our meetings and publicly have a public comment about something that's happened. And I want us to have some fairly direct mechanism on that, hopefully rare occasion where the commission can help solve that problem for that person in the public. You know,
I certainly agree with you, Ty, that we don't want to be back in the situation where we were before. And, you know, if there's an issue that comes up and, you know, we feel like that, hey, there's a problem here that needs to be dealt with, then I agree, we need to have that ability to fix that. But I think that that's different than trying to manage what's going on in the hospital. And, you know, and what specifically 3 is saying is that we're not going to call up employees and give them instructions and orders. And that's what that says, is that we don't call them up and say, hey, I need the rooms cleaned, you know, 5 times a day instead of 3 times a day, or what, you know, whatever. And because then that undermines his authority, and it makes it so that, oh, we got a problem with him, we just go to the commission and we can get that sorted out. And that's going to create all sorts of headaches. So while I agree, we need a mechanism to address problems, I don't think that this is getting in the way.
okay.
Barbara?
I would just say that through this time that I've spent up there, this has come up many times, and the way you handle it, or I handle it, is to go to Daryl and say, okay, this is what I heard, this is what's going on, and then he goes and traces it down and comes back with an answer to me. So I think that's what we do, is that what we hear or what happens, we go to them and say, okay. And there have been times when I said, you know, an employee has told me this and this, and come to find out, after he searched it out, it wasn't near what he said. So I think that door has been open for me, and I'm going to assume it will be open for all of us. That if we hear something or have concerns, we go to him, but we don't go to the lab director and say, you know, I think you missed that test.
I agree. I think Daryl is
Right.
our management team
Yes.
that is working for us,
Right.
for our benefit and our behalf. So if we have an issue, we go to our management team rather than the problem.
Right, exactly.
I think that's a great way to keep us out of the business of running a hospital. That's why we're hiring that.
And Ty, I will say that there's a huge difference between what we had in the past and what we have now. Because Allegiance, you know, I don't want to breach our contract and speak badly of them, but the response that we got from them was less than what we wanted. And when
I mean, it seems like all companies come in promising you the world and they look great, and then later the relationships out.
in all of those situations, those companies basically own the hospital. And that was Allegiance's contention, was that they were merely leasing the building from us and leasing the license from us. And they were a private company and they could do whatever they wanted as long as it fell within the confines of their contract. And this is different. We're saying we still run the hospital, but we've hired these guys to do it for us. And just like we hire a lab director to run the lab, and we hire a nursing director to direct the nurses. So that's a huge difference. And regardless of what the outcome is of this tonight, I've been very pleased with this arrangement.
Oh, yeah.
It's working well.
Yeah, I have too. And, you know, things like this are never personal. So far, it's been very good. Of course, you know, we just imagine Daryl's not there and it's somebody else comes in and maybe, you know, not as conducive to working with us. And so, you know, when you have a contract, it would be nice to have a way to be able to take care of issues that we need to take care of issues. And then if the person who is the manager, which possibly could be subcontractor or whoever, then that we have some way without scrapping the whole deal and saying, hey, you know, we want to terminate. And however many days. Instead, we could just work through this one issue. So it seems like we should probably reserve a little power there rather than shall at no time give or communicate orders or instructions to employees or personnel subject to the manager's direction under this agreement. I mean, if we could say, unless in unanimous vote by the commission, or, that, in some special scenario, that it holds on to just a little bit of that ability to do something if the manager doesn't want to do it. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, Barbara?
I was just gonna say, our employees had nobody or anybody to turn to before, and now it's taken, just a little while, but they'll come to me with something, and they'll say, go ask Daryl or Mark, they have your back. And they have built that trust. So I don't think they're gonna come to us with a lot of problems, they already know they can go to Daryl or Mark. But if I hear things on the street or any of you, then you also can go.
So Ty, if we put something in that particular item about, the commission, how would you envision that happening? How would that play out? If, let's say that, there's something that has come to our attention as a commission that we feel is wrong. And so our first responsibility, of course, is to talk to Daryl and Mark.
Sure.
Say, hey, what's going on here? So what you're suggesting is that if they didn't do something, or if we were not comfortable with the solution they came up with, that then we could override that decision? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, by maybe if the commission is unanimous and the manager disagrees, then in that, rare circumstance, that we could at least make some communication or instruction to an employee at that point.
It's kind of addressed in section 10
Okay,
on page 8.
section 10, page 8.
Page 8, section 10, number 1, that the manager will come to us and be responsible to us.
I think he's looking for a way for the community.
Yeah, but it's still not, if the manager disagrees, there's still nothing there.
Is this something that we need to ask the lawyers of how to put it?
Well, I think it would have to be run through legal.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'd like, again, I agree with Ty in the sense that I'd like to have a voice in the rare events that something comes up that there's a disagreement.
Yeah, because, we don't know who we're going to be working with in the future. In the past, and in any organization, you can have big problems, and sometimes the manager and someone else gets very close, and it just seems like there needs to be some kind of oversight there.
So I'll make a note here of what we're talking about, and we can let the attorneys, come up with language.
Sounds good.
Good, I'd like to point out that as a commission, individually, we can go visit with Daryl and discuss issues, but no two or more of us can go see him without it being within the realm of a commission meeting. So as the month progresses and issues come up, we're going to have to ask Daryl to come to a meeting to address those issues rather than just go to him and sit down and talk to him other than a one-on-one basis. So it would be dealt with in the realm of a meeting, addressing our concerns to Daryl and him replying back to us.
Well, and the difference is that we are the owners, and so they're working for us as a commission. And if we keep a strong commission, then
Okay, so I made a note of that, and I will pass that along to our attorneys. You guys, do you have anything before page 6, Ty?
I don't think so. No, nothing for page 6.
No, page 6.
I just wanted clarification on section 4, 3. Near the bottom, it says, I didn't think any other sentence here. Accordingly, the parties hereby agree that in the event of such a breach, other than as specifically provided for this agreement and another written agreement between the parties, they shall be entitled to preliminary and permanent injunctive relief and other equitable relief as granted by any court of competent jurisdiction. So I guess, is this basically saying we can't try to hire Daryl or Mark? And then if we do, then they can have some kind of a permanent injunction against us?
Yeah, this whole section is about we can't approach, like, let's say that we, said, well, we don't like Garrett, we like Mark, so let's try to hire Mark and bring him on as an employee, that we can't do that. Now, how that interacts with Arkansas's right to work.
It has nothing to do with this.
Doesn't have anything to do with
This is so you can't take our employees.
Right.
So if you wanted Tina, right, to work at your office, not through the process, not just to walk up to her and say, hey, can you come over here? It has nothing to do with marketing because we're contracted.
Right.
This is so that people can't come in to from their offices.
Well, the only people that this applies to, though, is the commission, and the commission would change. So if I'm not on the commission, it's no longer applies to me. So, I don't know, that's an interesting.
It's just worded weird. It's just talking about the manager and owner, so I didn't even think that the manager owns the employees. And the way it read to me is the only two employees that this really applies to is you and.
No, this means that I can't come into your office and steal your employees. I can't take those employees and put them someplace else if I leave here. It protects the employees that are in the place.
But it is unclear. I think that would have to be clarified, because I thought it was talking about alliance. Because that's actually what this is about, is the agreement between alliance and the commission. So if this is referring to other entities, then it needs to be clarified.
Is it like this, they're not going to take any action to release an employee?
Right, there's only 2 employees in alliance. That's why I agree. I mean, there's other, again, this is just us trying to just figure things out.
So making it.
And it may just be because I'm not a lawyer. This was a very technical section. I mean, I had to read it through a couple times, even reading it aloud, it didn't sound like real English.
All right, next, page 7, anybody have any issues with that?
Yep, so, all right, so page 7 talks about reimbursement of expenses. So I want to be real specific because this is going to tie into our last page. What expenses are we supposed to be covering for the management team? I mean, they're already getting paid a salary. I know when I get paid a salary, you know, my gas is being paid for such and such. It comes, I spend my money how I want to. So what does this portion mean, I guess?
I took it to mean that if we had expenses like Daryl needed to go to program somewhere in Little Rock, that we would pay expenses for his travel and per diem.
Well, I only ask because right now we're paying expenses because they live in another state. And again, one of my hangups here is hiring people from other states to manage the hospital that's here. Because again, of what would happen with Allegiance. So I just want to make sure that this isn't covering travel expenses to and from, because you know where the job is, you know where you live. I'm sorry.
Well, you're moving into a whole other So we can't, I'm not going to make a decision to move here until I know I got the job. And
Sure.
This covers that period of time.
So I tend to agree with Chris here that when we start talking about expenses, I think that, and I know there's another spot, I didn't reference it here, but I know there's another spot that talks about, you know, the budget and having, and then actually the very next thing says, you know, you're going to provide a bill or vouchers, blah, blah, blah. No, here it is. The manager shall prepare a budget of expected reimbursable expenses for the year, which shall be approved by the board. And so at that time, we would say, yeah, we're going to reimburse your travel, or no, we're not going to reimburse your travel, or we're not going to pay for 12 months in a hotel, whatever it may be. But, you know, this says that we agree that we are going to cover some expenses. It doesn't say what those expenses are, even though it mentions some examples. But we still approve that budget that they provide.
As long as we're not falling into like some kind of a trap where, hey, it's small, I want my lunch paid for. Hey,
No, I agree,
I
100%.
want that. It's, again, it's not a you thing, because again, you can say, our relationship is sound, this has nothing to do with that, this is something that's now legal and locking things in.
I agree that that needs to be clearly delineated what exactly are we paying for. But are you comfortable with that information?
Yeah, I just want someone to just, you know, mark this section, have the lawyers look it over, make sure this is something that doesn't open us up to Daryl needs a new helicopter pad for his yacht. And that's one of his travel expenses.
So I am going to insert something here on the last line of 7.1, which says the manager shall prepare a budget of expected reimbursable expenses for the contract year, which shall be presented for approval by the board.
Because otherwise it's just like, well, you said you're gonna.
Yeah, right. So that gives us the option to say, no, that we're not going to approve that particular budget. Anything else on page 7? Moving on to page 8.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I think we needed, there's a couple of big ones here in page 7. I mean, 5 years and then the no cause termination 180 days. Is that what we want? I've never been offered contract for 5 years in my life, but you know, I mean, is that it? We just need to discuss, I think, what we do want is, you know.
So what's your concern there, Ty?
It's too long. I think it's you know, I've been offered lots of medical jobs. 2 years seems to be the standard. Maybe for administration it's longer, but you know, you can renew it all that, you know, at any time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. I will say that with Allegiance, we had 5-year with automatic renewals for 5 years twice, which is part of the reason that we got into such difficult situation with them, because it was difficult to get out of that lease. So I do hear what you're saying. And this does say it's for 5 years, and that the 180 days to get out of it, I think is pretty standard.
Okay.
Between, I'm trying to remember, like on my contracts, like when Northwest decided up and go, it was 90 days. When I think with North Arc, it's 180 days. But I do like that there is either party without cause, you know, can give 180-day written. So to a certain degree, I highlighted 5 years as well, but then I read section 9(1)(b), and I thought maybe that was the escape policy in case something happened in those 5 years that we didn't like. I think Daryl wants some kind of basically guarantee that if he's going to uproot his family and relocate here, that he at least has 5 years worth of income before he has to start doing churros on this downtown, you know,
I understand that totally. And every job with a big hospital corporation that I've ever had, I would have liked 5 years too, but I never got it. The most I ever got was 2 years. So, and I uprooted and I did all of those things. And if I was not making my RVUs, I guarantee you that I was done at the end of that 2 years. So I'm just saying what's fair is fair.
I'm gonna have a lot of further arguments down the page here, kind of comparing it to medical contracts.
So I don't have a problem with it changing to 2 years.
I mean, if they're doing a good job, we renew it in 2 years, no problem, no questions asked. I mean, I don't see what the big difference is really.
What would be your, okay, so we have the guy right here. What is your argument, I guess, for the 5 years or 2 years? What's the difference, I guess, in your mind?
It's just a long term. Because I plan on being here for a long time.
Well,
So, I mean, it's up to you guys.
Well, with that termination of, 9(1)B, I don't think it really matters, to be honest. So why don't we switch it to 2 and we'll take it from there.
should we catch it and go 3? I mean, like, is there a number that you like better?
3.
Okay. Yeah, are you okay with 3, Ty?
Yeah, with section 9B, I'm okay with 3, yeah. I would say though, on 9B, if we decide to terminate without cause, man, that's gonna be 6 months of probably not a lot getting done and paying that fee, but I guess that's probably pretty standard. If John thinks that's pretty standard, I'm good with it.
Well, yeah, particularly with the operation of the hospital. Because
Okay.
I was gonna say, because you got 6 months to try to get a new management company and such. I like the fact that it says 180 versus 90, because it was hard for me to have a job and get re-credentialed in 90 days.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Anything on page 8? Page 9? Page 10? Page 11? 12? Yeah,
I'm sorry, we're going so quick here.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rush.
Can I just add, I don't know where it is now, I've kind of lost my place, but like, I guess, well, we'll get to that later, like the bonus pay, but like, do we want to have any targets? I don't think there are any targets in it,
Targets?
targets, yeah, revenue targets.
There is in the wording on page 24, it just,
Okay.
so I do think that we're going to discuss that some more.
Okay, I'll leave that alone for now then.
Okay, so page 12. Page 13. Now, what is this? I missed this one. What is this? Manager affairs, application. It says for the managers, page 13, $100,000 for the board, and then that's the manager agrees to requirement like that. All right, and then 14, 15.
All right, I got something on 15.
Okay.
Section 22(2). It says, except for claims involving injunctive relief prior to filing any lawsuit, the parties will make a good faith attempt to settle the dispute by mediation in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I believe it should read the dispute to settle the dispute by mediation in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And again, the reason why I say that is because ideally, we're going to have a management person that lives in the town that they're managing, which again puts more, I don't know, what's the word, more skin on the deal or whatever.
Yeah, I had that marked as well, Chris.
That is on page 15. All right, page 16. Oh, yeah, this is, I was just looking it up on my computer. Here it is. I've got it on my printed out version. Under Eureka Springs law, section 23.1, we need to amend that to include, sexual orientation and sexual identity under the non-discrimination. Did we leave anybody out? Yeah, it's one of those things that you almost want to say that we will not discriminate against anyone for any reason.
Would make a lot either.
I think that from a legal standpoint, that doesn't cover it, but
Just skinny people.
What was the other sexual orientation?
and sexual identity. Or, not sexual identity, gender identity, sorry. Any comments on 17? About 18? 19? And then we have the signature page. Maybe it's page 22, management services. Any comments? These are what we put together. That doesn't mean you can add to it. Right. So page 22 and 23 and 24 are all about what we are expecting from them with respect to operating the hospital. So nobody saw any other questions or concerns there? I didn't see any. Oh, you saw some before. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so first question, this is a service agreement. Does this apply just to Daryl, or is this for Daryl and Mark?
It's to the company.
For 2 humans, okay.
Could be 3.
Well, okay, I asked because when you do the math on this, and you're looking at $30,000 a month,
Well, you can move on to page 25. Mine's just 25, is that what y'all have? Oh, sorry, I must have had a page break here on that signature page. All right, so, okay, yeah, so, sorry.
so, you're okay, well, so we're on Exhibit B, management fee. When you do the math on the base fee, or the base pay, and you take into consideration the bonus structure, you're talking a base salary of $360,000, and if they hit their bonus every month, up to $960,000 a year. So my first question was, is this for Daryl or Daryl and Mark? So it's for everybody that you choose to employ. Then, the bonuses for monthly income, basically when you do the math on this at 7.5%, when they get over the certain limit, it basically works out that they will get a bonus if the hospital earns more than $400,000 a month. And their bonus will top out when the hospital earns up to 1.066 million. Because that would be 1.066 million times 7.5% gives you $80,000. So that's the backwards math on this. So with that in mind, we made 12 million last year, the hospital, under the crummy, not crummy, I'd be careful. We made 12 million, even though there was crumbs, and last year alone. So I don't think it's going to be hard with the additional management to make $960,000 a year on this contract. Okay, so there might be differences, okay? And so again, this is just me throwing it out there, setting the stage for discussion, and you obviously have some, which is good. Here's my argument, and I think Ty might agree with this a little bit. So as a doctor, I'm just gonna throw it out there. They make $165,000. I'm nowhere getting anywhere near to 360 to 960. Now, if we're dividing that up amongst multiple human beings, that makes more sense to me. But I guess my problem is when management companies eclipse the amount of money made by physicians working in the area. And I say that because I think everything has gotten twisted in medicine just in general. The fact that this is just basically a glorified hotel without doctors and nurses working in it. And to me, I guess when I see these kind of numbers up to a paycheck of $960,000 a year, it makes me worried a little bit. And I'm not gonna lie, maybe jealous, maybe that's the word, I don't think so. But it's just, wow, that's a lot of money. And so, I don't know, and maybe it's worth it. I'm just throwing this out here. When I did the math on these numbers, it's pretty amazing. And I know before we said, hey, we want to take this contract because it's going to be cheaper. My understanding is they're making $10,000 each a month, or $10,000 total a month right now. So that's like $120,000. How is this cheaper to us?
Well,
That's what I'm just throwing out there.
in contracts in this format, they do go back to the contract. Second thing is you gross told me last year, you didn't net, you lost. So there's the difference. And for the last 4 years, the hospital.
So the net
It's
revenue,
a matter of us really working our tail ends off to make this a, quote, and I know you're looking at it from a not-for-profit status, but it's still basically a profit.
Profitable, non-profit.
So it's a profitable nonprofit.
so Daryl, you define net revenue below. Net revenue means funds collected from operations, including patient insurance billing, but not if we sell something. So I get that. But that's really kind of gross revenue.
No, it's based on the net.
Well, but you define net revenue as gross revenue, because that's a definition of gross revenue.
It should have expenses, there should be expenses. Because it's net revenue. Everything after expenses. If we have.
So if we make a 1% to 2% profit, then we would only be making that 7.5 on the 1% or 2% profit.
Technically, yes, but I can increase the expenses and the revenue.
So this is the way all non-for-profits make money, right? Is like Mercy. They're non-for-profit, but the executives get paid a ton.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's not, in my life, I got away from that system because of all of this. And so, like Chris, I mean, I have fundamental issues with it because I wanted to see a small hospital that survives, provides an ER, provides a place to go for, 3 days or whatever, provides a few services and is non-for-profit and tries to treat people in a way that takes care of their health care. And the profit motive in medicine, is one thing that I'm trying to get rid of. And that's why, I run my practice the way I do and make so little money. But I'm kind of looking for that in a CEO as well, just to put it out there and be frank.
Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is. I guess it's just, we just came from a big company that was taking lots and lots of money from the hospital. And I have a problem too, and again, I'm going off topic a little bit, but I'm gonna bring it back. So, like, when we're talking like airline companies, right? They make all of this money, and then they wanna bail out when COVID comes. Yet their CEOs are making millions of dollar bonuses on their profitability. It's same or different in my mind. I know you're gonna correct me on this one, but I guess, is it important to have someone that's good at what they do? And should that person be rewarded accordingly? Yes. How much should that reward be? I don't know, but almost $1 million a year for this tiny little hospital? Again, I don't know.
Here's the thing, Daryl, the way I look at this. So if we hired a CEO, we said, okay, we're not gonna go to a company, we're just gonna hire a CEO. We would not pay them $360,000. I mean, I just know we wouldn't. We got a report about a year, maybe 2 years ago, from I think from the Arkansas Rural Hospital Association, that listed all, in fact, I think it was actually the Arkansas Hospital Association, listed every hospital in Arkansas and what the CEOs were. And there are CEOs in this state who make $80,000, $100,000. 150,000. And then there are the really big hospitals like Mary Mass and Regional and St. Vincent's. You know, they make decent money. But so I guess what probably all of us are kind of saying here is, while we've been very grateful for what you all have done here, and if you've been compensated for that, why should we pay you and your team $360,000 a year base when we can hire a CEO for maybe 150?
Then I would suggest you hire a CEO.
Well, but that's not really answering the question.
We're not trying to
You
make
gotta see
this-
what you're gonna get. That's the difference. You can hire a CEO to come in and do the job, but are you really gonna get anything out of that person?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the risk that we take. You see what we do, you see how we work. And, it's in the middle of a worldwide pandemic as well. We're in pretty good shape. I'm great, but we're in pretty good shape. Yeah, I can't tell you guys what to do. I can tell you we're working. But there's a lot of work that we're doing. And on my job is to make this hospital thrive, not just sit there. I don't want just one that's going to be emergency room and a couple of beds. You want the hospital to thrive. And that's what we're going to get.
I think what Daryl's saying.
I can't tell you that. That's what, but if you want a CEO, then hire a CEO. I mean, eventually I'd like to be here full time to be that CEO. But in the interim, I've got to work out. But I'm sorry,
I think the way I interpret what Daryl's saying essentially in the contract here is that if he's able to create an enormous amount of profit that he wants to share, then that's simple to me. If he doesn't make a profit, he doesn't get a share. If we sit here and let him do his job, and his job is efficiently enough done that he makes an excessive amount of profit, then it would be appropriate to share.
Yes, my argument is the base, he could literally do nothing.
But let Mark.
Sorry.
We would also have to hire another person to be COO, because Mark knows this plant upside down and knows what needs to be done and what needs to be done. And we're going to be in a training phase of training people to come in to see, I mean, they're doing the job to run the whole hospital from top to bottom. So that's a two-person job.
it's not just this hospital, it's what's going to happen. It's the growth that we want to do, it's the presentation in the community, it's the overall. It's the overall presence in this community as to what we want this hospital to be. I've seen what we can do in small critical access hospitals, and the revenues that we generate impact. And I know you're coming up with that relationship, but don't let that hinder the future. But if you guys want to hire a person and do that, that's fine. But that is hopefully what our future is.
No, I really feel like, if we want to incentivize them, then we can reduce the base pay and totally incentivize them. But, I mean, horse trading, that we need to decide what are these gentlemen worth and what are we doing.
Well, I guess, and again, and Ty might back me on this, it seems like in the world of medicine, and those are the contracts that we know, we're always given basically a really bad base amount. And then to be incentivized, you have to reach this point that's like impossible to reach unless you're practicing like really not good medicine, in and out to do the numbers, because it's all about, it's burn and churn.
You guys who sign those contracts are unhappy with that. And that's because that's what you do. So if you do a better contract.
So, I do have, I want to take issue with something you just said, not you personally, not issue with you personally. And kind of going back to something that Dr. Burton said, that, you said if they make the hospital a lot of money, then they get to share it with us. Well, we don't get that. We're not, not sharing with us. So, because this is a not-for-profit organization, so none of us gets a buck from this. And I'm not saying that it's sour grapes. I'm saying that I think it's important to understand that nobody's supposed to make profit from this. Now, that doesn't mean we can't compensate people and compensate them well. We can. But so I'm kind of iffy on the base, but I'm also iffy on the bonus structure. I mean, I have a bonus structure where I work, and I appreciate it. And you know, it's in my case, it's not as hard to reach as what Chris just described. But and so I don't have a problem with compensation, but I think the compensation needs to fit the job. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even get a vote in this. I just keep talking. So, you know, when I look at the base, my initial thought is that's a little high.
So the base for 2 employees then is 180,000. And whatever 960 divided by 2 is can go from there. But you're basically saying you'll bring in as many people as needed to train, like if you need to bring trainers and everyone else in, it comes out of this money? Or does this come out of the reimbursable expense money over here? And so I'm saying it ties back to that issue.
Well, and see,
And then that's where I was getting at, but if we're reimbursing travel and you're making $1 million, like, and granted, that's only if you get there, and of course, yes, I am spinning this a little bit, but you know, you knew where to get off that easy.
well, and you mentioned it a couple of times, and there was a spot in here that kind of caught my attention when I first read it, but I need to clarify it, where you talk about, you know, that anybody hired will be work for you and not for us, not for the hospital, they work for you. Then I realized you were talking about if you decided to hire a consultant to come in and do something that you all, it would work for you. And that's part of this money. But that, to me, that's a gray area that we should stay away from. And the reason I say that is because if you're getting this amount of money and it's going to your company and then you all are dispersing it however you disperse it, and then you bring in a consultant and it's like, well, you know what, we're gonna run a little short this month, why don't we have a hospital hire that person instead? And we've got to end the budget, and so we'll let the budget. So I had issues with that.
Definitely the alliance people.
Well, okay, so, but then, I think we ought to stay as far away from that. Because if the hospital needs something, then it needs to be the hospital that does it, not alliance. That's just my personal feeling about that. If you bring in a partner, and that's your business, that doesn't change this. But as far as the, you know, like if there's something that needs to happen at the hospital, that needs to be the hospital that does that, not Alliance. Because that muddies the water to me. Okay, so now back to this, this base salary with the, I don't have a problem with incentive. I do have a problem with incentive that, from a nonprofit that makes you very rich. I just have a problem with that. You know, $80,000 a year, you know, that's almost $1 million a year. I think most people in Greek would have a problem with that. And I just don't see how we could do that with good functions. So that part, I think we got to adjust. And, you know, I realize there's 2 of y'all, and it would be difficult, as Barbara pointed out, to hire 2 people, you know, for, you know, either pay both of you $100,000 a year, or $200,000, and it's almost, you know, so that's it. Again, those are my 2 cents. I don't get a vote, but
I guess to me, if the base pay was closer to like what a doctor in this town makes, and maybe I'm just a guy that gets paid nothing around here, I don't know, but it would be more digestible. And I'm not saying that you're not better than a doctor, but I also kind of feel like, I don't know, I would just almost rather that extra money go to like the staff and I don't know. I guess the argument here, and I guess I'm trying to keep it straight is, do I think you're worth $1 million? Yes, I do. Do I want to pay you $1 million? That's a tough one.
Can I make one more point?
Sure, Ty, go ahead.
That, in medicine, I made a whole bunch of money for a while, and you can make money in medicine, a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that's good medicine. And a lot of times when we're trying to, because the way the healthcare system is, you can game it and you can make a lot of money, but it's not like selling cars. Sometimes the best medicine comes from not trying to make as much money as you can. And I'm very hesitant on any system that rewards just making money without any quality factors, without any public, what do you call that, public satisfaction or anything else, just pure money. Really kind of turns me off. That's it.
And maybe the bonus structure, and again, I don't know if this is even up for discussion, maybe take it or leave it, this is what we want. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I agree, maybe there should be, it's more than just the income, because it's more, this is one of these weird touchy-feely jobs that it's not just about income, it has to do about patient, satisfaction, and quality, and things of that nature. And maybe this is just kind of a rough draft to give us an idea, but I agree, I think the whole picture should be looked at here, because if you're saying we're going to bring this place up, it's not just about profit, it's about how good is the staff, how good is the nurses, how good do people feel when they leave this place. I would love a magical unicorn rainbow place that everyone just felt amazing when they leave. Especially for this.
I don't believe that he can go to those kind of profits without the support of the staff.
Sure.
If I could just interject here.
Please.
If we look at the hospital today, how many surgeries are done on a weekly, monthly basis? None. Zero. How many surgeons are actively coming and bringing cases? I think we know the answer to that. I think if you look at our history and what we've done with small rural critical access hospitals, we just don't show up to work every day and expect a check. I can go out there and find you hundreds of administrators, but that's all they do. They sit there, many of them never leave their desk. They just sit there, get there at 8, leave at 5, check in with the DON, make sure the floors are clean, and more like a hospital, and that's all they do. And I think those types of administrators are worth $75,000 to $80,000 a year. What we're talking about doing is what we've done at several other rural hospitals, is we go out and recruit. Now, and Daryl is a master at that. We had surgeons coming from Oklahoma City and traveling anywhere from 120 to 140 miles. We had other surgeons coming, driving 45, 50 miles a trip. They were doing no surgical cases. And just after about, what was it, Daryl, a year and a half, 2 years, we were doing 180 to 190 surgical cases, all types, GI, orthopedics, pain. You're much better at describing this than I am. And exactly, that's what really the whole point of the workshop is. We are now getting inquiries from surgeons and physicians, all over, specialists that are extremely interested in coming, because I think they've heard that we're here improving things. But in addition to that, of course, allegiance is no longer here, and that's probably a plus. But I think what you're going to find with Daryl and myself, we're not just placeholders. And we can easily go out and through the co-management model and things that we want to share with you all, recruiting highly skilled surgeons. And oftentimes, not only will they be treating patients here in this area, lots of times they'll be bringing their own patients here. Once they're convinced that we have a good surgical department, good surgical staff, good clean ORs, and we know what we're doing. So I think if you just look at the hospital today and say, yeah, well, we don't have surgery, we don't have this, we don't have that. We've only been here 6 months, and as Terrell pointed out, we're probably at least 2 to 3 months behind where we would have been if we weren't spending 50% of our time dealing with the COVID issue. And of course, I'm not telling you all anything new, we do on a daily basis, but we do as well. We have to respond to all the inquiries, all of the, well, I hate to say it, grant monies that we're bringing in, filling out the paperwork, not just doing it, being receptive and knowing what the heck is going on. These grants don't just fall into our laps. We go out and find them, search them, research them, do the paperwork, and bring the money in.
When we put together the contract, we had no clue what to expect. Really did. So we shot. We took 2 contracts that we had in the communities prior to this, was whittling them down. We were making more at Seaman, Oklahoma than we were here by far. We knew that there would be financial constraints and financial issues. And so, yeah, we put on paper just what we thought was reasonable. And I think it's reasonable. What would you like to present?
Let me ask you a question. How confident are you that the net revenue is going to pick up within the next?
I'm extremely confident.
So what about if we said, well, we'll do a 20% base or 20,000 base? And then we can, if you're confident you're going to make that up anyway. I mean, to me, I would feel more comfortable looking the members of the community in the face, because I realize we're not just hiring a person, we're hiring a team. So I get that. I mean, but the average Rican, they go to the hospital and they have trouble paying that $20 copay. And when they're reading the paper this week that we're talking about this kind of money every month, that's a huge thing to a lot of these people. Yeah, or even less. So me personally, I'd be comfortable if we lowered that base to 20 and then said, hey, go to that 7.5% and earn that other.
Yeah, I cannot guarantee we'll ever hit the 75%. It just depends on what we do.
So how much do you guys make a month?
Well, we're making 40, we cut it down to 20.
So I guess my question would be, and I really like where you're going with this, is what we have right now versus with you guys. I get that, but what we have right now seems to be doing really great for us, really great, at $20,000 a month. What does this do that's different?
It doesn't do anything. It just lets us know that, hey, who we're working for, what are we working for? We put some parameters to the job that we do. We don't have this one time because we're working on a transition contract. And yeah, I think there's some things that here that need to be addressed for the legal team. I was kind of, well, they didn't actually we got the whole thing before. But
I think we also need to be incentivized.
Yes.
And I feel a lot better, at least at 25, and I know that it was going back and forth here. But, and I know about moving here, but we're leaving our families. We're coming over here and we're working, and I understand that you want military, I understand. It's just the way it is sometimes. But I don't think we should be penalized because we live in Tulsa and are commuting over here. I don't think we should be penalized because we're in a community. Okay, well,
Do you feel
maybe should we be making more money because we're Little Rock instead of being in Eureka Springs?
I mean, the reality is that it has to do with the income of the area and the type of hospital and everything else. And some of the things that you're saying that during surgery and stuff, completely agree with you 100%. And I think I would see it as being possible if we didn't have the hospital we have, if we had the hospital that we all want, and we're saying, we're gonna get surgeons here, and they're gonna do work in our ER that has a perfect laminar flow system and this, or sorry, OR, but that's not what we have. So I agree with what you're saying, is that what are the odds of us even getting here anytime soon with what we
It's
have?
still good, it's still.
But I get it, but then on my side, that picture of this magical thing happening would be easier to swallow if we even had a functional OR.
Are you aware how much money Allegiance was taking out of the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay. It's far more than you think. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
In addition to what you saw going out the door, as you know,
But I
monies
think-
were going to other facilities.
Sure, and I think this is why we're as tight or concerned, I guess, is because we're coming off of a rocky relationship. We're not trying to rebound here. So I guess again, my situation is, so if we got you right now for 20 a month, and there's no bonus structure, there's nothing else, are you basically saying like, we're not planning on sticking around much longer unless we have something concrete? Because we could do the 20 a month, no bonus, and you get all your travels, and then the Tulsa part is a non-issue. I'm not trying to make Tulsa that travel the issue. Again, it's just if I'm gonna have someone that's managing, or the CEO or whatever of the hospital, I want them to be local, because it's more bite if something bad.
Well, I understand that.
This is first pass.
So,
I know you guys, or at least.
as long as we're open for discussion,
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah.
and I only say this because you came off a little defensive, and granted, that's, again, that's how I come off immediately, and then I think about it, so you and I, kindred spirits, I just wanna make sure that, you know, this isn't like, if you don't like it, just go hire a CEO, and that's it, so.
Well, guys,
I don't wanna
let's
be there.
let's do this, because I think that we're, at this point, we can't come up with a final contract tonight anyway, because the attorneys have not thought about it.
So
So,
what are some changes we wanna bring to that?
well, I've written down the things that we thought of. And so what I would ask Alliance to do is to, in the next few days, send us a revised financial request. And then we'll compile that with what Megan and Ashley can put together. And then we will meet again in 1 week. Yeah, I thought that we was first. Yeah, I hope we get to this point, because this is kind of, it's a holiday kind of for us, but I apologize for that. Just so no way. But that's what I would like to do, if everybody's okay with that. We'll have a meeting in 1 week at the Norris Street property at 6 p.m. And at that point, we will plan to sign a contract.
So I just wanted to throw out there for the record that I think, maybe I don't speak for everyone here, but I think I do, that we're very pleased with the work that you guys have done, and working with you guys has been great. This is not a roast ceremony. This is just, we want to make sure, because this is legal, locking, binding contract, that all parties are protected.
All right,
So are they going to, are we gonna agree to a price before, or their costs before the meeting, or hash that out again at the meeting?
Yeah, how are we gonna sign something at a meeting if we don't have those details?
that's a good point.
You know, actually, the needing to bring numbers.
We
Well,
have to
yeah.
hash out right now, and then the contract signed, or we have another meeting.
So Barbara makes a good point that, you know, if we wait to get the numbers, then at the next meeting, we'll have more discussion about those numbers. But I do think if there's questions of reality, that the attorneys need to be. Yeah, we can't sign the contract tonight, there's no doubt about that. But to Barbara's point, do we need to hash out the numbers tonight so that when we
That
get to the
we're
meeting
gonna
next week?
agree on the numbers.
So- Remember how we had that one guy that we hired, or that we agreed to hire to give us fair market values on things? What's the fair market value for a CEO and a CEO? Like how combination?
It really comes down to, fair market value for executive staff, I don't think there is such a thing.
It depends on what you do.
Yeah, it really does, their experience, their wisdom, their knowledge, et cetera, they bring to the table. That's why,
I only ask that because how we're gonna work the surgical contract is based on the fair market value for, like, say, the podiatrist and the wound care doctor and whatever. It doesn't take into consideration experience and other things of that nature. And again, I'm used to medical contracts. So to me, I just like to keep everyone on the same playing field. Maybe that's not possible.
Barbara, what are your thoughts about where we are today? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
You're gonna put me on the spot.
Treasurer.
Well, I think the ER is full and rocking and rolling right now. And I see what the staff is doing and what's happening. And this hospital is going to start making money in a nonprofit way, but it's gonna come back. I have worked with these guys for the whole 4 or 6 months that they've been here. And if anybody can do it, they can do it. If we can come up with a fair price, and I think the bonus is okay. That gives them incentive. But they have it anyway. They both fall in love with Eureka Springs, and he's looking at houses. And so the whole picture is that I'm not crazy about the 30,000, but if we could lower it and then keep giving or given the bonus. But I also want to put money back to build only hospital and use our architects. So, there's part of the profit where that's gonna go.
We have no problem being a nonprofit.
So-
building our hospital.
so.
Can I remind everybody though, that every dollar that goes on this contract is 100% reimbursable.
Sure.
And I'm not using that to, jack up the amount, but I'm more the other way. I would rather see a little bit higher base and cut a little bit off of the, on down the road, incentive thing.
So,
You know,
if that's something you want to propose.
Well, so you mentioned 25. Is that more in line with what you're thinking? What about you, Ty?
I mean, one advantage of being at home is I can search the internet, right? I mean, I'm sitting here searching small rural hospital CEO salary, and I'm getting, according to WorkCron, 72,000 to 392,000 a year total for CEO salary. Here's another one. Glassdoor is showing 150,000 is the average small hospital CEO salary. So that kind of gives you some perspective. Now you're getting 2 people. I realize that. So maybe you double that. So,
You're right at $25,000 a month.
yeah, you're right about $25,000 a month with bonuses. Yeah.
With bonuses, not base.
Let me check that real quick.
I just want to clarify.
So what if we did whatever we decide on, and then we can't pay a bonus every month, right? Because there's not gonna be.
We don't.
Right, and so,
Hospitals make a territory.
yes, so
For a year.
there's not,
Let's get real,
there's not gonna be a bonus probably for a year,
at least.
because it's gonna take us that long to.
It's like a
file
workplace.
out.
Too.
At that time, maybe we could,
Show me the
maybe we could do a base salary and in 1 year visit the net and come up with that then, maybe 2% or 5% or 2%.
Yeah, we can do it. I'm easy. We can.
And I can work in because I know how bad he wants to do it. I'm working right now.
She is.
Sorry.
I personally, I'm okay with 7.5%. I don't have a problem with that. I had a problem with the cap being as high as it is.
That's least.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable with like a $50,000 cap. And then, if we could do a 25, 50, 25 base, 50 cap, 7.5%, I'd be on board with that.
Just have to do the math on it. It took me a long time, so then I have to make calculations.
As far as
That's all right.
that,
I would do
How it all
that
works out.
just because I know what we're getting, and if we go out and start hiring people, we don't know.
We'll end up in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody questions the fact that we want these spots
Yeah.
running the hospital. Let me ask you, Carol, is there a number that you would be comfortable with leaving this table tonight?
I would say,
That's what I'm comfortable with as well, and if you're pleased with that number, then we can move forward. We're discussing the number.
And the 7.5% will be at the end of the year.
yeah, we will come up with a.
Because, yeah, the way it's thinking right now is that's month to month. And that's how I came up with the math on this, was that month to month, the net revenue is above that certain. I have to go over
So,
this again.
just to give you some math.
Yeah.
So if you, you know, the 7.5%, if we have net revenue of 1.2 million a year, which would be awesome, they would get an additional 112,000.
Additional one.
An additional 112,000.
So maybe I'm doing the math wrong, because I thought this was, within 20 days at the end of each month.
They do have it monthly, but you just divide it by 12.
Maybe I'm doing the math completely wrong.
Oh, that's why I will.
Yeah, come up with a formula, because the way I read this is if, let's just say, if we made 12,000 or 12 million, and I know that's net and gross, and I don't understand what either of those mean. But let's say if we get to that point, where we're bringing in. Okay, cool, still doesn't make sense. So with that said, if we're bringing in $1 million a month, then I was thinking that's where they're getting 7.5% off of that per month, and that's how the numbers were getting so
It
high.
has a difference between gross and net. So gross, we can bring in $1 million a month, but if we pay out 900,000, then our net is 50,000. So that's the difference.
Okay.
That's the simple enough.
Alright, so, yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to make you guys sound like millionaires, but that's the way the math works. But I'm also not a mathematician. So ask me about
That's
that.
really good. So, we'll redo the contract. If that, it sounds like there's some legal bits and jargon to be addressed from the attorneys.
So should I make a motion
For what?
to set their salary at 25,000 with a 7.5% on net?
You know, we won't do that until we sign the contract.
Okay, but that's what you
That's
want to
what-
put.
Yeah, that's what will go into the contract that we will talk about next week.
We can make a motion to table this to the next special meeting.
I don't believe we do that. We can just, chair, just tables it and anything else before we adjourn?
He's announced
Meeting
tonight.
is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Yeah, really, I just, I got you.